You predicted $50 silver in the mid 2000s, and we actually did hit that number in 2011. And a broken clock is going to be right twice a day, right? Like I could go and say, we're going to hit, $50 silver, $100 silver. And then when it eventually hits that number, I could say, look, I made the correct prediction, told you so, etc. And we've kind of been hovering in that mid 20 range for the last 10 years. So, why are you still so bullish on silver? How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Empire Precious Metals. If you're new to the channel, I am not a financial advisor. I'm a guy talking about precious metals and collectibles. So make sure you blast that subscribe button, get the bell notification clicked. That way you get updated with any new content. And please don't forget to blast that like button. I am very excited that I got to do this interview with Keith Neumeyer. A lot of you have seen him on Kitco, other financial news organizations. He's been in the stacking community for quite some time. And it was a great opportunity to speak with him because he is the CEO of First Majestic Silver, which is arguably the largest silver mining company in the world. And he's also the founder and chairman of First Mining Gold, which is a newer gold mining company, which has some really, really awesome opportunities. But in this interview with him, I do pose some questions. I do talk to him about silver and gold predictions, and I try to push him a little bit on some of the past predictions that he's made, but not too much because he's a lot more knowledgeable than I am, and he would just wipe the floor with me. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this interview, and let's just get right to it. Now, we've seen silver have its best month ever in July of 2020, and we also saw gold hit its all-time highs in August of 2020. Now, you predicted $50 silver in the mid 2000s, and we actually did hit that number in 2011. And I'm gonna basically pose a question to you. Now, many people they feel that a broken clock is going to be right twice a day, right? Like I could go and say, we're going to hit, $50 silver, $100 silver. And then when it eventually hits that number, I could say, look, I made the correct prediction, told you so, etc. Now, we did see silver pull back, and we've kind of been hovering in that mid 20 range for the last 10 years. So, why are you still so bullish on silver? And do you see triple digit silver coming our way?
Well, I'm on record, and I think I'm the first to ever use that terminology, triple-digit silver, and I started that back in 2013, 2014, after a pretty major fall. And you're right, I did predict $50 silver, and one thing people that are listening should realize that these markets don't go straight up. There was a 10-year bull market that started in 2002. And it ended quite abruptly in 2012, but it didn't go straight up. There were several times through that 10-year period that, we thought the bull market was over, and it wasn't. It just kept going and going. Copper prices went from 60 cents to $4. Gold went from 250 to 1900. And these are big moves. And I've been saying, I think we've now re-entered a bull market. I think we had a bit of a blip in 2016. That was kind of a fake out in a way. I don't even think the bull market actually started then, but some people do use 2016 as a starting point. I really use 2019 as the main starting point because that's when we really started to see, the press start to cover gold and the commentators coming out really pointing out what the governments are doing and what it's going to affect and how is it going to affect people and so on. And that campaign is very strong and is continuing to this day. And it's really, there's two things that, gold is money.
Yeah.
And everyone should have gold in their portfolio as a substitute or a complement to their hoard of money, whatever that is. Silver is, in my view, and this is somewhat controversial, but I look at silver as a strategic metal. And I call it that because without silver, we couldn't do this telephone call. We couldn't do everything we do in the human race, just would not be capable. We're consuming 1 billion ounces of silver a year, and the miners are mining less than 800 million ounces a year. The above ground supplies of the metal are dropping, and the biggest hoards, of course, are in the ETFs. But there's really no substantial, hoards out there that can fill the demand that governments, want to see occur, by going off oil and gas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you definitely have an insider knowledge of the entire silver industry. And so, if anybody is in a position to make these types of, these calls and these predictions, it would certainly be somebody like yourself. Now, the triple digit silver that you had mentioned, there's a lot of people that do definitely agree with you. Now, gold, if I'm not mistaken, did I hear you say on a previous interview that you're seeing, you see $3,000 gold possible, or am I mistaking you for somebody else?
No, I said 3,000. I think that's kind of my main target. I know there's others out there that call for 5,000 and 10,000, and I guess those kinds of numbers can happen. I'm not sure what a $10,000 gold world would look like.
Right.
It might be quite a bit different. Banks might be a lot different. Governments might be a lot different. But, so I don't know if we actually want to get there. But, $3,000 is a reasonable number. It's barely up 100% from current levels. It went up, 8 times on the last bull market from 250 to 1900 over that 10-year period. And if you call 2019 the bottom and call 1,050 gold the bottom, eight or nine times could be, $8,000 gold.
Right.
Now, it could get up to those numbers, and silver the same. Use the same kind of math. You call 13 the low, and it went up 10 times from 5 to 50 from 2002 to 2011. Call it 10 times again from 13. There's $130 silver. I'm pretty confident that we'll be seeing triple digit silver, and more so than $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 gold.
Yeah, I would agree with you too in terms of like what seems to be a little bit more feasible, and that definitely seems to me a lot more realistic. Now the dollar, it's presently trading at its 7-year support line, and it looks really bearish. Now, even though it had a strong Q1, we're now on a verge of a really big bear move, and it really looks like inflation's here to stay. Are you seeing inflation?
There's sure a big argument going on right now on this whole topic. There's the dollar bulls and the dollar bears are lining up, ready to jump on each other. One of them says something.
Yeah.
And of course, that affects the 10-year bond as well. There's groups out there that think the bond market's going to continually weaken and rates are going to go higher, even though they've been a little bit weak lately. I'm of the camp that we're going to see lower interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the economy is as great as that it may appear today. There's just too much unemployment and too much damage done in the system that it's going to take a while. It could take 4 or 5 years to really get the system back into a healthy position again, whereby the governments can start to increase interest rates.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they have to. They have to start unwinding their balance sheets. They have to stop supporting the populations with free money. At least I'm hoping they're going to go down that path. But there's others that say, hey, this is a permanent game. This is MMT, and it's going to be forever. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be getting free money and free stuff, and you're going to be getting digital currencies, and you won't have to work, and you won't own anything, and you're going to be happy staying at home.
Yeah, the Great Reset.
Exactly, the Great Reset, and that's what really scares me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we definitely want to talk too about your company, First Mining Gold. Now, sure. As if you didn't have enough on your plate already running First Majestic, you founded and you're currently the chair of First Mining. This is on top of, like I said, running First Majestic, which is perhaps the largest silver company ever, 4,000 employees. You got Mexican silver mines. And when it comes to First Mining Gold, the valuation, it actually looks really attractive. Judging from the fact that the market cap, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's around 216 million USD. And the Spring Pole project, I think it has a net present value of I think, what is it, $995 million alone? Is that accurate?
Yeah, call it $1 billion. That was done at $1,600 gold. So at today's gold price, it'll be easily $1 billion.
Oh God. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been really good. I've said this a number of times. Maybe I should come up with a different phrase, but I'm good at putting companies together and picking the lows and cycles. And when I put First Majestic together, I was putting that company together, at $4 or $5 silver. And I had a view on the silver price, and it just so happened I was able to accumulate a pretty interesting group of silver mines that, in most cases, were shut down and left for waste. And then I had a different view, and my technical team had a different view, and then we made the necessary investments. And lo and behold, we had 10 million ounces production within 10 years, and the silver price hit $50 within 10 years as well. So it was. And we're still growing today, and we've got 6,000 employees, by the way.
Oh my gosh! Okay, 6,000.
6,000. But what I saw in 2015, and I guess I'm just a serial entrepreneur, but gold prices were gold mining equities were just so ridiculously low. I was doing some evaluations on them, and they were trading at these are companies with ounces already drilled in the ground. So you'd have 1 million ounces defined in the ground. It might have cost $10 million to drill it out over a period of 10 years, and they got 1 million ounces sitting there, and they've got a market cap of $50 or $60 million. And there wasn't just one of them. There was dozens of these companies, and they were left to rot, left to go bankrupt. And my team and we put together a list of our favorite targets, and over a period from April 2015 to the summer of 2016, I went out and approached the boards of directors of these companies, and I was successful in convincing 6 of them to merge with First Mining Finance, we called it at the time, but we changed the name to First Mining Gold. And Springpole is one of the largest undeveloped gold projects in Canada, and actually one of the largest in the entire world. And it's got a ton of blue sky as well, so there's a lot more exploration potential with that asset. And it's going through the permitting stage right now, which takes forever. It's doing all the indigenous groups permitting and government permitting, and it could go for a couple of years. And I think that's sometimes why stocks like that, I call them development stocks. Development stocks tend to trade at the lowest compared to exploration stocks or producing stocks, because they're the ones that they're not drilling,
right,
and they're not producing. So they're kind of caught in the middle.
Right. So let me ask you then, in your view, is there a discount on shares of First Mining Gold as it stands?
Well, of course, I'm biased, but just look at the one property itself. You've got Springpole with a $1 billion net present value, and the market cap is just a little over 200 million. Then you look at the other assets. You look at cash. The company's got over 40 million in cash. The company also owns, because of all these deals that it's done on I don't know how much time we have, but Pickle Crow. We'll talk about Treasury Metals, the Goldland project. But the company receives shares in all these joint venture partners that the company's been signing deals with because it's a large portfolio of these quite good projects. And now it has 120 million dollars worth of marketable securities in its books. Then you add the other gold projects on that. You come up with, you throw a value at it, and it's going to be much higher than where it's currently trading, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And as I said early on, when you and I first hopped on this call, I told you that I invested in First Mining Gold as well as First Majestic, but it just seems like a really great opportunity. And the reason we're actually having this interview is because there is a very special opportunity that's time sensitive, and I think it has to deal with a special dividend for shareholders that own stock before June 28th, which is today. Can you explain a little bit about this dividend?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty exciting because this is something we've been talking about right from the beginning when I put the company together. I committed to shareholders at the time that if we'd ever do some deals whereby we're getting a large payment in the form either cash or stock. In this case, we got a huge payment for the Goldland project in the form of shares, that we would dividend them out. And I'll just give you a little bit of background on Goldland. Goldland we bought back in 2016, and it was a private company at the time. A company, its neighbor, a company called, or asset, a mine called Goliath, has been permitting their mine for quite some time, and it was owned by a company called Treasury Metals. They have about 1 million ounces of gold approximately. Goldland's got a little bit around 2 million ounces of gold approximately. And so combining the two into a single 3 million gold asset and having Treasury more advanced on the permitting stage, we felt that it would make sense to sell Goldland to Treasury. So we got all these shares. And we're dividending out to shareholders 22 million shares of Treasury Metals and 11 million warrants. And this is happening in the next couple of weeks.
So now, I believe, because I like I said, I did watch some of your previous interviews. You have a calculator that's on the website, and people can enter some information in there and kind of see, okay, if I owned X amount of shares, this is kind of the dividend yield that I would receive. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a form on there that people have to fill out in order to receive those dividends. How does that work?
You don't actually have to fill out the form. I believe under U.S. tax laws, it's recommended that you fill it out.
Gotcha.
But it's only for U.S. Owners. Anyone else doesn't have to fill that form out. But feel free to call the company if you have any questions. Email the company, or do some due diligence on your own and see what that form is. I think it's called a W-9 or something. Like
yes.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I clicked around and I looked into it myself. Now
the shares will still show up, even if you haven't filled that document out. The shares will still show up. It's automatic.
Right.
The date that we're expecting this to happen is July 14th or July 15th. So you have to own the stock by probably July 12th or 11th or something. Or probably don't wait that long.
Sure.
Because you got to get settlements, and depending on your broker and all that. So maybe don't go past the 10th of July.
Right.
And then they'll just show up.
Very cool. Now, so let me ask you, what are the next steps for First Mining Gold, and how strong is the company's financial situation? I mean, you already talked about some of these projects that already have a huge valuation to them. But what are you kind of seeing as the next steps for this company?
Well, the company doesn't have to finance itself, which is really great, because a lot of junior, mining stocks or development stocks, need to finance, and we don't need finance for at least the next 3-4 years, and we may never need financing because we could develop Springpole using a partner. And they may be financing it with their own money, and we'll just ride the wave. This is a huge gold project producing over 300,000 ounces of gold annually for 12 years, and that's just on the known resource. There's a lot more gold on this property that we expect to discover. So that's just the first part. But look, just the marketable securities in the bank, got over, as I said earlier, the balance sheet is extremely strong. 44 million in cash, 120 million in marketable securities. That's after the Treasury spin out. And then the drilling that's going to happen at Cameron. We have a large land package, a project called Cameron, and it's an old mine, or at least it was. They tried to bring it in production years ago. They got it going, and then they ran out of money. It's just back in the 80s. And so a lot of it's done. A lot of underground developments are done, but we just want to get in there with rigs. We need to dewater it. That's the biggest issue. Mm-hmm. But once we can dewater it and get some rigs going, and we're hoping to see that happen in a couple of months.
So before we wrap up, I want to ask you too, and this is usually a huge selling point for a lot of the subscribers and viewers of my channel and others. How is First Majestic and yourself invested in First Mining Gold?
Yeah, First Majestic was a seed shareholder of First Mining, and of course, I'm on both sides. So I'm the chairman of First Mining Gold, and I'm the CEO of First Majestic Silver. First Majestic is my full-time job. And the chairman role doesn't take up a huge amount of my time, but of course, I oversee, everything that goes on. And myself, personally, I own just a little over 15 million shares of First Mining Gold. So
wow.
I've got a pretty significant.
Yeah. You're definitely heavily invested in this company's success.
I was buying some stock a couple months ago. I think I bought 1 million shares just in the last 6 months.
That's incredible. I'm not going to tell you what I have. It's laughable. I'm not even gonna get into it. But Keith, is there anything else before we sign off that you want to share with the stacking community, or any final thoughts about First Majestic or First Mining?
Well, I love your collection there, and I just bought a little bit of gold last week. Actually, I was trying to catch the bottom, and so I did decide to go into the physical market and buy a little bit of gold. So that was nice, adding to my collection. And others on my Twitter, Keith _Neumeyer. I'm always saying, buy physical, because that's the physical is where it's at. You can make money buying the stocks, of course, and a good mining stock should trade at least 2 to 3 times better than the metal itself. But it is also riskier than having the physical. So it depends on what your risk tolerance is, whether you want to buy mining shares. And there's 3 categories, as I already touched: the exploration and development and production. So I like owning all types of mining stocks, but when you look at the exploration stuff, those are always the riskiest, and it goes down from there. And development stocks, it's not so much that they're risky, it's just they're just boring. so you just have to be patient, and if management's doing what they say they're doing, when the permit is granted, or the ground is broken to build that mill, that's when these development stocks just go bananas. So that's what I'm looking for. Hopefully it's shorter rather than longer.
Well, now that you had said that you stack gold, I have to ask you now, because now I'm just curious, do you have a particular type of gold that you prefer? Do you prefer Canadian gold Maple Leafs? Do you like American gold Eagles? Do you have one that's your absolute favorite to buy?
My daughter has the American gold Eagle. It's the only one in our collection. It was given to her on her date of birth by my brother, and she knows exactly where it is in the safe.
It's a very nice brother.
Yeah, and she likes to play with it, and which is great. And but most of my silvers, it's either in 1 ounce rounds. I've got lots of Canadian Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
but some Austrian.
Oh yeah,
and some Mexican. Well, not too much Mexican, but some Mexican.
I have some of that too.
Yeah, and then it changes color a little bit more differently.
Yes, it does. And now I'm just curious too. How often would you say that you like to purchase silver and gold, physically?
I try to do it once a year.
Yeah.
Just religiously. I'll try to pick a bottom in the metal price. Not that I'm always right, but it's. I just look at it as money. So it's not like buying a stock where you have to worry about what it's going to trade at every day.
Right.
It's real money that can be converted back into fiat at a heart speed if you needed to do it. And
it's a lot nicer to look at too.
You're warm and fuzzies. At least for me, makes me feel good when I'm holding a block of silver or gold.
Yeah, it's the same for many of us. Keith Neumeyer, I really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, well, thanks for our first interview. Hopefully we can do it again, and sorry for screwing your name up at the beginning.
Yeah, no worries. That is the interview with Keith Neumeyer, founder and chairman of First Mining Gold. I really do appreciate Keith taking the time out of his day to chat with me and provide some information within the stacking community. So definitely check out the information down below. I'm putting all of it down here in the description. And if you have any questions, don't forget to reach out to people at First Mining Gold. sold. They have some information there in which you can contact them, and you're going to want to take advantage of this really awesome dividend opportunity. And you can't wait too long because this is set to go, like he said, in mid-July. So you definitely want to kind of look into that sooner rather than later. And I would like to quickly thank these elite channel supporters. And if you haven't already become a channel member, please check out the awesome perks and join today. With that, this is Empire Precious Metals. Until next time, long live the Empire.